Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee with Jim and James. James, another historic day. We are at SGA, but we are actually doing a live, quote unquote, full episode of coffee today with some very good friends and great guests.
We've become very good friends,
Yes,
haven't we?
Have.
It seemed like the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we spent a lot of time together. We were like road buddies.
We were.
Yeah.
We did the circuit.
We did.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Versive. I'll let y'all do your introductions because I feel like everybody should have to feel that awkwardness.
Absolutely. I do every time.
Gina?
Sure. Yep. Gina Rundo, Director of Operations with Versive Solutions. Been in the industry now for over 13 years. Spent some time with Dominion Energy. Held various operational leadership roles for live gas, and recently joined Arteria and Versive in 2021. That's where I met you folks.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Excited to be here today. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'm going to interrupt real quick before you even get started. Keith, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
The first thing I ever heard about Gina was I was talking to Laura, our friend over at Arteria.
Laura Morrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Laura said, "Have you met Gina?" And I said, "No, I'm excited to. I don't know who's Gina." All right. So, I mean, that's a compliment in itself.
That's
Well,
right.
thank you.
Keith,
Yeah, Laura's great, by the way. She does great work.
She
for us.
is awesome.
She's a wonderful
friend of the
asset.
show.
Yeah, so my name's Keith Ormsby. Thanks, guys, for having us on. You know, it seemed like it's taken a while for us to get here. But, you know, we met you, or we started talking to you about this before you were an award-winning show. So
I wasn't, we hate to bring that up, but 2 or 3 times a show.
Well,
I'm sorry,
you know,
what
I
did you
wanted to
say,
be the
though?
first.
What were those
We
words
are at
again?
SGA. Have we made that clear? We are at SGA. So
We
it's
are.
fair game. So
We
go
are.
ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So my role, I'm Vice President of Commercial Operations for Arteria's Southern Gas Division. And it's a great role. You know, I get to help support several of our opcos, including Versive, and it's been a great time getting this one kicked off and learning how to start a business, and it's been a great adventure.
It has been, and believe it or not, Keith and I may have known each other over the years, and when this all came full circle, it was absolutely fun to reconnect the dots. Let me kick this off. Versive, new name to the industry. We saw a lot of splash last fall at AGA and SGA and such. Give us a little overview, a flyover.
It's my
of,
favorite part.
Yeah.
It's like
You
the
know?
origin story, the
Come on, tell
garage,
us.
the garage band story.
Tell us how it happened.
Tell us
It's
the
a-
overnight success that everyone
Yeah.
sees.
Right.
Tell us all about it.
A lot of sleepless nights,
Yeah.
right? You know, so Versive is part of Arteria. And, you know, speaking of new, Arteria is relatively new. You know, Arteria is the parent company of a number of companies that are in infrastructure, natural gas, and energy segments. And, you know, when we looked internally at what we do, we're out there in the field working with natural gas on a daily basis. And so, you know, we're faced with having to create safe environments for our employees and the folks out there in the field. And so to do that, you know, part of that is to take, you know, the gas off of a pipeline. Historically, you know, that was done by just opening a valve and releasing the gas to the environment. I mean, and when we started taking internal looks at that, we said, hey, look, we've got to be better. We've got to be better stewards of the environment. We've got to be better partners to our customers. We've got to be better stewards to the you know, the public in general. And so I wrote a business plan to help our group with that issue, you know. And I wrote the business plan. I presented it to some of our senior leaders, and they said, Keith, you can tell us a little bit more why we need to do this. Gina and I have known each other for years, right? And so I called my old friend Gina, and I said, hey, Gina, help me understand why Dominion's doing this. What's the value proposition behind this? And we were, you know, she was very gracious. She spent at least an hour talking to our group about it. She is without doubt the subject matter expert in this field.
Gina, how many years at Dominion?
13.
Yeah. So she just pitched it. She's a great steward for the industry, and her passion was obvious. And we go through that, and they said, now we understand why we need to be doing this. And we said so long to Gina and hung up, and everybody started looking at me and they said, "We've got to hire Gina Rundo." I mean,
It's a good problem to have.
no problem.
Gina says, "All right, I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes to stop
Yeah,
this."
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was that was my next task. Easy enough. Let's hire somebody that's got a
Awesome.
great job and is doing great work for one of the industry leading providers of natural gas. And so I thought I was going to be sneaky or crafty or whatever. And I sent Gina a note and I said, "Hey Gina, I got some follow up questions. And, I was going to spring it on her.
Yeah.
Why you need to." And so I get into it, and we start talking a little bit. And Gina beat me to the punch. It was amazing.
You gotta
It
like
was
that,
amazing.
didn't you,
That's
Shep?
right.
You
That's
know?
He
right.
was a pro.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That made it even more clear. Right?
It was really clear. And then so Gina, tell them why.
Yeah, and I basically, called up Keith, or we talked on the phone that day, and I said, look, the industry is facing a lot of pressure right now. And yes, Dominion, great company, appreciate all the growth and experience I had with them. But at this point in my career, I felt that I needed to do something more to help the industry as a whole.
Yeah, purpose.
And exactly.
Let's
And
go.
seeing the scale and the reach that Arteria had, 41 states, 130 plus locations.
No doubt.
They're the general contractor on these type of jobs. It seemed like the right fit to scale something as important like this nationwide, and to do that with Arteria.
Wow.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, that leads in well. Let's talk about Arteria. We've been friends. Okay, so Miller Pipeline forever. With clients of ours. We've done business very closely with so many folks over there. That's where I first met Laura.
Yep.
And then kind of as the Arteria brand came together this past year, or here
Right.
in the recent, whenever that unveiled, the last 3 years all blend together. But kind of tell us a little bit about Arteria. Tell our audience that maybe don't know kind of what's behind that brand, that company. I hate to call it a brand, but I'm kind of a brand nerd.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, that culture there. Tell us a little bit about Arteria as that parent.
Sure.
company.
Yeah. Well, so like you said, Arteria, or we said, Arteria is relatively new. Just a little bit over a year, we became what is Arteria. It was Power Team Services before that, and that was Southeast Connections and KS Energy were the two integral or key components of that group. And as we started evolving, and we purchased Enverge, Minnesota Limited, and Miller Pipeline, we looked at it and we said, hey, we do more than Power Team Services. Arteria, we became what we want to be as a brand, and so we became Arteria, and the genesis behind that name, which we've learned a lot about naming.
Yes.
But
I remember that.
It's, tell us.
Yeah,
It's a
Arteria.
process.
It is.
Yeah, it is. We never knew, did we?
Holy cow!
Yeah.
We went through the same thing. I laugh about it. Our CEO Coleman Sterling. I don't know if y'all met him. He would agree with that. It's a journey.
It is a
It
journey.
is. You never know, right? You never know what all goes into these things as you go through that walk. So that's it's worth noting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there should be a support group for people that go through that.
And Arteria what was the garage, as you say, the garage story about that? Who said we should name this Arteria? Or
Well,
Can you disclose that? Or
Yeah.
is that-
no, I think neither one of us were involved in that process, but we heard that it was very similar to the journey that we had when we were doing Versive, but maybe even on a bigger scale because of the
Can't
significance of
imagine
it.
those meetings.
So we hired some consultants that tried to help us make sure that we were capturing what our essence wanted to be, and Brian Palmer, our CEO, he one of the things that's resonated with me is, first of all, he's an extremely approachable guy, just down to earth. He said, I want this business to be a place that my kids would want to work. And in this day and age, pipelines not sexy, so we're doing things like trying to do damage prevention and create businesses like Versive and be responsible. But But Arteria, what I heard genesis is we're artisans of terra, artisans of the earth. So
Yeah.
we're
Love that.
yeah.
See?
I mean, it's a great name, great story.
How many people know that?
Yeah, and I
We
probably
got insider.
we just did. So and you did
breaking
too.
news. Breaking
That was
news.
internal stuff. They'll probably get fired for it.
Yeah.
Versive. Same story with the name Versive.
So Versive, after pages and pages of name
Whiteboards and
review,
whiteboards, right?
And then
I feel like we're going off script and freaking
reviews.
everybody out.
That's all right
This is
though.
the
This
good
is,
stuff.
yeah, this is what,
This was the journey.
Versive, we landed on the name because hence versatile.
okay.
And this industry, today we're facing changes, but this industry is going to continue to face those changes. And we thought the name was fitting to be versatile, to be a partner in the space, to say we are going to adapt to those changes with you in this journey and provide solutions to those changes that we're going to be faced with decades to come.
And those solutions are really focused on ESG.
That's right.
So I'm going to go back to AGA where we were first kind of rubbed elbows. We came out of that, at that time, our kind of dipped our toe of coming out of the pandemic.
Yep.
I think everyone that was there could rally on the fact that there was so much innovation in the hall.
Definitely.
Like there were things we hadn't seen. We've all been cooped up. We were building, we were learning, we were making our processes better. We were doing everything we could. And then we were ready to show it off, right? And we all came and the panels were amazing. And y'all were super involved and you saw these companies popped up that maybe you hadn't seen before. But the thing that was the constant through all those conversations to me was ESG.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't see this as a bad thing, but some would say, oh, it's just kind of trendy. It's the thing, the fad, the whatever. Look, if some people gain the knowledge from a trendy topic, I'm cool with that. Is it a trend? It is not.
Right.
No.
No, it's
Tell us a little bit about ESG
Yeah.
and maybe educate, our folks a little bit that maybe don't know really what all that is.
Yeah, so ESG, environmental, social, governance.
Yep.
Look, it's not just in our industry, it's in every industry right now. So it's not a trend, it is here to stay.
Mhm.
I had my first dose of truly the impact of ESG to the business because of the pressures that this industry was facing from the investors.
Right.
So what are your ESG plans? But are you actually executing those plans? Versive itself was created on the essence of ESG, right?
Right.
Strictly, if you think about it, the environmental, the E, right? So we are
that's
focused.
straightforward. I mean, the E part is
The E is straightforward. What we provide is emissions reduction solutions. That's our bread and butter, okay? But also with that, Versive is also heavily supporting a social, the S piece. And when you think about pipeline blowdowns, they're traditionally done as a form to do work safely on infrastructure, right? However, it has a community impact. It's a loud noise, it's got odor associated with it, and now with greenhouse gas reductions,
Yep.
the public is starting to understand that. So Versive supports that and saying, how can we be a good community steward? How can we get the message across of the good things that our customers are doing in this space?
Mhm.
So we support the S heavily as well.
And is it all, and
Yeah, no problem.
is it all, so I think sometimes with ESG, people think, oh, great, we got to have this whole new program and we got to do all these things this new stuff, and we don't have time, we don't have the budget. Isn't there a lot of things that you look at first that I don't want to call them low-hanging fruit?
That are already in process and put them together formally.
You're already doing this. You're
Right.
already, it's helping educate them that way as well.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the social real quick.
Go for it.
We've been doing this road show, introducing Versive and so on, creating a lot of pilot programs. And one of the social things that came to me was we were out on a job site in a very residential area.
Mhm.
The contractor had already dug up this woman's yard, and
You're talking real residential.
Yes.
real,
Okay.
real, right on the corner, And so she was already a little bit upset about it, and she would open her window just about that much, and she would bend her head over and she would yell out there, and she'd say, "Trees have lives too," and that gas company's the devil. So I mean,
Okay.
we were thinking, if we let live gas go here and she gets a whiff of it, guess who's going to get caught?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody.
social.
And that's the social, right? So it may not have been a huge volume of gas that we were recycling that day and keeping it in
Doesn't
the
matter.
pipeline.
Doesn't
It
matter.
didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter because of the impact that it
The
was
brand,
having on that
yeah.
landowner.
Yeah, no doubt.
But to your point, so as I mentioned about Arteria, we're an industry leading infrastructure company, and we're out there on a daily basis. We've been doing pipe replacement programs for years,
Right.
and getting rid of leaky pipe that's
Number
the
one, right?
low hanging
I mean,
fruit,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
That you're probably already doing.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
already doing that, and a lot of ESG we're doing already. It's
It's
just
more tracking and making sure that you have a plan and goals around it, right?
Right.
It's almost like a PSMS plan where really you take a lot of the pieces that you're already doing and formalize it together on that journey. Let me, before I lose my thought here, we talked about the E and the S. Let's go to the G. Regulatory regulations and such like that. How does that fit into it? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a little bit on the regulations right now. So it's starting. We've already got a dose of that with the Pipes Act of 2020,
No doubt.
Section 114. It goes into a lot of detail, but high level, it does state by the end of December 2021, operators were required to have updates in their inspection and maintenance plans of how they were going to mitigate fugitive emissions and voluntary emissions, which is where we come in.
Say it one more time, really, because I mean, right? Operators need what?
They need to have in their inspection and maintenance plans how they are going to reduce their emissions, and those plans, according to this writing, is going to be audited in 2022.
So is that if they want to, or is that
it's
they-
not
right?
right.
Is this a should or a shall?
You're right.
Let's hit
I mean,
that.
very clear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very real thing. This
Yeah.
isn't,
Real.
hey, one
Yeah.
day you may need this information. This is coming.
This is coming. So that was the first dose of it. And we've seen in other states across the country, the regulations are getting tougher.
Yep.
In Colorado, there was just a recent mandate about not blowing gas in stations, at compressor stations, on pipeline pigging traps. So that's happening in the state of Colorado. It's now, just a matter of time of when other states are going to have those regulations as well.
And that rule doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate at all.
No.
It applies to the dominions, the southern companies, but it also applies to the municipal systems. I mean, so this is an industry wide journey that we're on.
How's it been? How's getting out over this past 6 months? How's it been with municipalities? How open are they to that? How sometimes we get hung up. ESG, you may have a whole department for that dedicated in the larger operators, but how has the reception been amongst munis?
We had the opportunity to attend what was a great event. I highly recommend anyone.
APGA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
APGA.
Love it.
That was
Phenomenal
Yep.
event.
Shout out Stuart Salters over there,
Yep.
Aaron Carilla, all great folks, all of our friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love them.
So that's where we really had the first opportunity to show and share Versiv and how we can support there. But, the feedback and the outreach since that event for municipalities for Versiv Solutions has been phenomenal because they're raising their hand and they're saying, hey, guess what? We need help too. It's not just the big operators that everyone
Love
thinks
it.
about. We're facing those same regulations
Right, with less budget,
with
Yeah.
less resources,
Less
That's right.
people, everything.
and I also have to manage the wastewater and
Yeah.
the water.
That's right.
Yep.
And I'm the trash guy on Thursday. Right? I mean, that's the reality.
That's right.
It's overwhelming.
So for them, it does. I mean, I hate to say it's not a box on a shelf because it's still very personalized and custom or whatever. But sometimes in that world, that's what they need so that it can be priced and put on the shelf next year. That's very
they
interesting.
need good partners in the industry to do this. And I'll tell you, it's part of connecting the dots too, because you read in the news or you hear it, greenhouse emissions, you hear climate change, you hear a lot of different terms. And a lot of times the people really don't understand what that means at a granular level. I mean, honestly, a blowdown, people might not understand what that means. They might think of greenhouse gases as cars. Well, there's more to it than that. There's actually landfills that are emitting,
That's right.
gases
There's
all
so
the
many
time.
ways,
There's so many ways. Let's dive down a little bit deeper into Versiv and the services that you actually provide. Let's get a little detail so people can say, "Oh, I understand how that is doing that and
Yeah, how
impacting
can
that and
y'all
reducing
help,
this."
Yeah, so it all ties in really. I mean, we talked a little bit about the regulations and ESG and what we're seeing and the changes in this industry, but we're also hearing from our customers that they got goals tied to emissions reductions.
Definitely, yeah.
Right? So Versiv, what we do, at least, our first service offering is a term called cross compression,
Okay.
also known as portable compression, recompression, temporary compression. So we're calling it cross compression, right? Because essentially what we're doing, we're taking the gas that would have been vented or blown to atmosphere,
Just out in the air.
just out in the open
Yep.
air, and we're taking that gas and we're evacuating it safely and recycling it back downstream in that main line or in another pressurized vessel. So gas stays in the pipe where it probably should have been this whole time. So that's our service
imagine
offering.
that, right?
And, the feedback has been extremely positive from our customers. The time associated with our operation is minimal impact to the operator. So it just makes good sense. What I will say though, it's live gas.
Yep.
So it is very specialized. And, this came through experience with Dominion when we started deploying and introducing cross compression. It's a dangerous process. So it should be well suited, and training is important, as
No
you
doubt.
guys know.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard.
That's where-
I've
right.
heard.
That's
I know a guy with
Yeah.
that does training.
Know a guy
Yeah.
that knows a guy.
I got a guy.
You got a guy.
So training is critical in this
Absolutely.
space. Anything with live gas, not anyone should do it, which is another reason why Versiv was carved out as its own company. Sure, we have the resources with Miller Pipeline, Southeast
yeah.
Connections, et cetera, that we could have just bought this equipment and done the work. But you need that specialty, and that's why we're a pipeline specialty services group.
Love it.
That's great. I would, at some point here, I would love to see something about this product. What do you think, James?
I hear there's a video or something that might be able to help our audience.
There is a
along.
Is
video.
there?
There is a video,
All right.
yes.
I'll tell you
Oh,
what, we're going to cut to the video and we'll come back right after that.
Awesome.
no. James and team, this made so much sense. To see it, it was like a million words, and that is such an efficient operation. Thank you for sharing that video with us and letting us look at that.
Gina, if, I'll open up to both of you. We kind of end these shows. This is no different. We're live at SGA, but
That's
it's
right.
no different. And we give people the floor, kind of give them, I don't want to say the soapbox, it's not like that. But if you had just one thing to kind of leave the folks with, what do y'all think?
Gina, I got this one. Gina touched on this just briefly. Part of the message is why did Gina come to Versive in the first place? And then why are we Versive? Gina came to us because she felt like she could do the industry good, not just Dominion, not just opcos under the umbrella of Arteria, but the industry. And so we were very deliberate about creating a separate opco so that we can provide the service to the industry.
Yep. And in fact, just one other touch point on that, we do a lot of work outside of the Arteria umbrella. So I would say 50% of our work has been subcontracted under other general contractors.
So it's not just operators.
No.
I mean, you may be servicing other contractors, municipalities, whatever.
That's right.
I love it. And I love that concept where we are stewards to the industry and safety. And, with me, that's near and dear to my heart.
That's why we started this show.
That is why, with safety number one and how we can outreach to the community and just keep the message.
We're doing our
going.
social part.
We are, of our
Yes.
ESG, right? Okay, big question. People are going to have a lot of thoughts. They're going to have a lot of questions. What do they do? Where should they go? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So I would suggest first thing is our website. You can go to our website, www.versivesolutions.com. Highly recommend it. You'll get all your facts through there. You can also submit an RFQ form on our services through that site. So it's very smooth and you'll get to learn about a process a little bit further through there, and contact information of myself and Keith and some other folks on our team.
Yeah, they're not hard to find.
No, they're not. They're not. That was
and
a,
if
that
you
was a
can't find them,
softball.
we're probably within a stone's throw. Just reach out to us and we'll just all holler down the hall.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Gina. We'll be somewhere.
We got a phone call coming in over here.
From line 2.
Yeah. Thank you.
It really
Thank you,
has
Paul.
been great.
Thank
We've been
you very
trying
much.
to do this since AGA in full disclosure.
Yeah, it's been months.
We've set
It has
this up
been months.
187 times, but we've been blessed and we've been busy, and so being able to do the first one live this year and having y'all has been awesome. So,
Absolutely.
so glad we made it happen.
Yeah.
And we want to have you guys back. And actually, I personally want to get out to a job site.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the video, but I want to see this live.
We would love to have you.
It's my C and G that I
We'll do
can't just
one
get out of my
live
system.
from
Yep, let's
We
do
will
it.
have to check your OQs.
Yes.
We will have to get them caught up.
I know a guy. Have they labs? No, they have not. That is a
Probably.
joke. No,
It was great having y'all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks again.
absolutely.
Very
Thank you, everybody. Until next week on Coffee with Jim and James, as we always say, stay safe. Next week. Bye-bye.